This lesson, I want to complete our web page template so we can link out to a number of different pages. I have one page for index, so this is going to link out to my index.html. Over here, I'm going to have show, so this is going to be basically to showcase maybe some products. So we'll add something in there, and then this is going to be contact.html. So this is going to be for our contact page. So now index is the way that we want it to look. Let's update our showcase page. So first thing I want to do is just save this entire web page as show.html. I've just saved it as show.html, and in this case what I want to do is I want to completely update what I've got here within this particular div. So I'm going to get rid of that, get rid of all of this stuff, and I'm going to add in a carousel in its place. So a carousel is just one of those image rotators where you can demonstrate, possibly if I've got some showcase images that I want to really highlight, I can add those in here. So let's add them in within this particular div. I'm going to give it an ID. So every carousel, you need to set up an ID in order to identify it. So car images or some car images or something like that, so that now we have an identifier. Let's give it a class. So this class is going to be on the parent container, and the class is carousel slide. And we need to set up an attribute here. So for this carousel, just keep in mind that you do need the Bootstrap JavaScript in order to get it working. So carousel, so the data right is carousel. So I'm just updating this parent to have that information. So next we need to create all of our inner carousel items. So let's do div, and let's set up a class for this as well. So this is going to be a class called carousel inner. And we can close that one off, and then within here we can list out all of our inner items. And there are some slight changes now with Bootstrap 4 in order to accomplish a carousel. So we can, just making sure I've got all of my divs here properly, so I think it looks like I've ended up with an extra div here. So let's remove that one there. So carousel inner, so there are some slight changes to the way the carousels work. We specify carousel items within Bootstrap 4, so class and carousel item. So this is for each image that you have within your carousel. Starting one is given an additional class of active, and then within here I can specify my image source, and let's give it a source. Let's just do placehold it. So that's another one like the lorem pixel where you can get images. I'm going to get a really wide image and multiply it by 500 pix and close that off. So let's duplicate that out so these ones aren't active. And now let's go into our web project and take a look at, see what we've got now. So when I refresh it, I've got my showcase here. So I've got my carousel there. So right now I don't as yet, so I'm not sure, we've got to take a look and see why we're getting technical issues there, but it doesn't seem like that's loading properly. So that's another thing that we're going to take a look at. So it looks like I should update this map API, so let's just do that quickly. So I've got my key in here, so I can update it, so JS key, and now we're doing callback to init, which is that same function I've got here. So I can remove that, and now when I refresh it, this should take care of this issue here that we've been having with Google trying to force us to use the API key. So of course, always better to use that API key library instead of just trying to link out as I was doing. So now we've made an update to that, and we can go ahead and update the rest of our carousel for Bootstrap. So going back to Bootstrap and our Bootstrap functionality, so we set up all those carousel items. They are rotating here. We see it if we watch it long enough, we'll see that rotation. But we're still missing those typical where you've got the carousel indicators as well as carousel controls, so you can actually control which images you get to view. So I'm going to show you how to update those as well. So let's open up our editor. And first of all, let's set up our carousel indicators. So the carousel indicators are usually those see-through type circles that you see, and they help you guide you through the number of pages that you have within the carousel. So this can be done with an ordered list, I should say, and the class for this, another default Bootstrap class, carousel indicators. So I believe with Bootstrap 3 we had indicator, so now we've got indicators. So just make sure that you are aware that with Bootstrap 4 there are some changes here. So list item, so data. So again, this is an attribute that helps specify what element we want to control. So this is where that ID is ever so important, because we need a way to link to that. So now that we've got that link, we've made that connection, one more attribute, data slide to, and essentially this is going to slide it to whatever item within that particular order it is here. So essentially it's going to slide it to 0, 1, 2, so that we just have to make those updates. Class is active, so this one's by default active, so make sure that we set that active, close that off, and it's going to actually build up all of these list items itself, so we don't have to worry about that. Remove that that active class, also update the slide to 1, slide to 2. Let's go back out here, and now we see that we've got the ability to have these indicators here where we're located. And also make sure that we indicate that these are going to IDs, the data targets. Let's try this out, refresh it, check it out, and so now we've got our carousel working. I'm going to roll that up to the top there. So now we've got all of that working, and lastly, let's add in some controls on the left and the right of the carousel. So we'll do that here just below the carousel inner part. We're just going to add a couple elements here. So they're going to be anchors, class. So this one is going to be class left, carousel control. So that's the class, and then now we need to indicate what we want to do with it. So we need to href it to the ID from up above there, so the main parent object, and we'll do data slide, and we need to specify where we're sliding it. So this one's sliding to previous, and we'll just shut that over there. So we can also specify different icons as well that we might want to utilize. So there are some default icons within Bootstrap, so span, class, and this icon is going to be icon previous. And let's try that out, see what that looks like. So we've set up the left one, so we can move to the previous ones. And now to set up the right one, so this is just going to be the opposite that we would do here. So it's going to be right carousel control, and we're going to slide it to next, and the icon instead of previous is going to be next. So let's go now and refresh it. So that will give us the icon on the right, icon on the left. We can use any one of these indicators as well to move through all the different elements there that are available. And then of course we've got our map working properly now because I added in the key. So next lesson we're going to finish it off with our last page, so we have our contact page in order to complete our web project.